Wellness Wednesday in this series. The objective of the poll was to gauge if you all would like to see more of these virtual meetings later in the summer, potentially after July 4th. And so we will talk about that a little bit later. So in terms of meeting etiquette, so our meeting is being recorded. These recordings are only of audio and the slides on the screen, so no faces will be seen, and if we go into gallery view, we won't be able to see any faces. So please sign in to the meeting link that was dropped in the chat box. Please rename yourself to include your preferred pronouns. So my name's Catherine and I go by she, her, and that should appear in my name. Mute yourself when you're not speaking, and please mute your cell phones. Use the chat box at any point to write questions or comments. If you want to see the PowerPoint more clearly, you can hide the video panel. If you need any mental health support, please chat Lauren privately, and if you ever receive any unwanted messages, please chat Laura Beth privately. Okay, so we've had this in previous meetings, but when we are having a discussion and you would like to speak, we are trying to use the raise the hand feature on Zoom. So when you would like to speak, please raise the hand. You can find that if you go to participants, all the way to the right, you will see this bar, and on the left-hand side of this bar, it says raise hand. And then if you want to lower your hand, you just press that button again. And so this week we will be rewinding and reflecting. So we'll be looking back at all the content and skills covered in previous Wellness Wednesdays, and also just do a little reflection on just in general on how this year has the school year has ended, impressions on what we've learned so far. And so that brings me to our meeting purpose, which is to review content discussed in previous Wellness Wednesday meetings, gauge student interest in future virtual meetings and topics, and reflect on the past year and the end of the school year. So I'm not sure if it's working because I don't see the results yet, but if the poll shows up for you, please put your input into it and answer the poll. If it doesn't work, it's okay. We're sending a survey out later in our follow-up recap email so we can get your insight there.
Catherine, I can see the results of the poll at least.
Okay.
And it looks like 9 out of 14 people have voted.
Okay, great. That's great.
Mm-hmm.
And then we can turn over to Alyssa.
All right, thank you all. So, kind of sad, bittersweet for this to be our last kind of Wellness Wednesday together for the year, but I'm really excited that I've gotten to spend some time and get to know all of you a little bit, right? Maybe not as much as I would have liked or as much as I would have if we were in person, but I think this has been a really cool opportunity. So I want to thank you all for joining. A lot of the names and faces are familiar week to week, so I appreciate that. So as Catherine said today, we'll really be reviewing a lot of the content that we've had. So things that we've gone over and that we've done over the course of these past couple of weeks. So that way you can maybe take some of these skills with you as you transition into the summer. So to kind of be a little bit more transparent about why we've been doing these things, so you could get a sense of, you know, we come in every week and we sort of give this curriculum to you guys, but I want you to understand why. So the first thing that we typically do when we come to these sessions is we do a grounding exercise. Just like curious if anyone wants to share, does anyone know what grounding is or means? Just unmute yourself and share if you have an idea.
Looks like Anastasia's hand is raised.
Okay, go ahead.
I'm just assuming that it's probably returning back to the present moment and just being more mindful.
Absolutely. Yeah. So grounding is an opportunity. If you think about it from like a physical feeling, think about when your head's kind of going all over the place and you feel kind of jittery and you feel sort of out of your body. A grounding is a way to settle your mind and sort of come back down into your body, feel maybe a little more rooted into the ground and more present in yourself. So that way you can then do what you need to do. So these are the different strategies that we talked about. And I'd be curious as I explain these, if you guys want to write in the chat, maybe your favorite ones that we've done, or what you remember, or what you really liked. So the first one we did was Ujjayi breathing. This was the breathing that is like you inhale through the nose and you exhale through the back of the throat. And it sounds like an ocean wave. So like the breath comes in, sort of sinks back in the back of your throat, and it sounds like you're like fogging up a mirror. So does everyone want to try that breath with me? We'll inhale through the nose and like swallow it and constrict your throat. So we'll take a big breath in and exhale. So it's like we're swallowing the breath, making like a Darth Vader sound in your throat. Ready? Inhale. Exhale. This is a skill that it's harder practice sometimes, but it's really good for centering the body. The next one we have is box breathing. So what this is this is the 1, 2, 3, 4. So what happens is we inhale up for 4 seconds. Then we hold for 4 seconds. Exhale for 4 seconds and hold for 4 seconds. So the breath, imagine it coming up as we inhale, crosses over as we hold it, exhale down, and crosses over. So if we want to try that breath together, we'll take, 2 rounds of that. So if you're nice and settled, we'll take an inhale, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, exhale, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, inhale, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, exhale, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4. So this box breathing you can do, it's really good for calming anxiety and settling into your body. And I like to think of it very visual and also spatial and feel the breath come in and out. So this just allows us to ground in one way. Take 5, which we won't practice, but we did last week, is finding 5 things in the environment that you can see, 4 that you can touch, 3 that you can hear, 2 that you can smell, and 1 that you can taste. Now, yes, this is the order that makes most sense because it's more likely you'll see more things. It'll be less, fewer things you can touch, fewer things you can hear, fewer things you can smell, and fewer things you can taste. So that's why the order is this way. But if you want to take 5, it's not worth stressing about what's the order because it doesn't really matter. What matters is that you take a second to settle in and drop into all of your senses. Then there's compassionate breath. So what we did was we did this a little bit in our conversation last week, right? Which is taking a second to put your hand over your heart and breathe in and exhale. So we can do this together. And when you breathe in, you really can do one hand or 2. And the idea is to kind of connect with your heart space and imagine yourself like sort of feeling like empathy or sympathy or, whatever it may be, to connect to somebody else or whatever it is that you're talking about. And then as you exhale, you can, send out good energy, love, or maybe exhale any tension or stress. So we'll put our hands on our heart and practice this one together. Maybe settling into something that you've been difficult, like something difficult or someone difficult you've had to deal with in the past day. And we'll take a deep breath in, maybe calling that up to mind, and just exhale it out. So this is a skill and a strategy that you can use when you're talking to someone who's going through a lot of pain, or alternatively, if you're talking to somebody who's causing you a lot of pain. So somebody who is not really aligned with your beliefs, or you just can't understand their perspective of where they're coming from, or maybe this person constantly irritates you. Maybe you can even hold your heart space and respect, honor yourself, and exhale some of that. Belly breathing is that big full breath where you put your hand on your lower belly and expand everything, like big belly, and then exhale fully. So that's just a good breath for really centering and grounding. And then visualization is another tool we can use, which is picturing or drawing something to mind that's important. So these are the different types of ways that we can settle into our bodies and get ready to address more difficult topics. So this is a skill and strategy you can use pretty much at any time in your day or in your week or in your life. When you feel yourself anxious or scared or depressed, or maybe just a little bit not yourself, you're just feeling a little off, that grounding is a good way of getting yourself back together. So now I'm going to hand it off to Corinne, who will be reviewing some of the stuff that we have been covering. So it's been a short 6 weeks, but a really detailed one.
Thanks, Alyssa. Yeah, we've done a lot in the 6 weeks. We really have, and a lot has happened outside and inside, right? So the first week, we spoke about relationships and hybrid relationships, you know, how things are shifting right now, and how we're having to redo how we connect with each other. And here the emphasis was really about how are we connecting to ourselves? How are we really taking the time to discover what it's like to be me in this time? And it's really important that we're paying attention to cues like, you know, Alyssa went over some of the groundings, like the physical sensations that we feel in our body, and then the thoughts that we have. When we connect those together, that's what forms our emotions, right? So really being aware of what's happening in our body and what's happening in our mind, and how that affects how we show up in our relationships with each other. And then we went into taking time for ourselves, right? And really taking care of what's going on. So we talked a little bit about, well, a lot, like you're worth it, right? This theme of you're worth it and self-care. So Alyssa, if you can change the slide, I think. So caring for yourself, right? Because and caring for yourself, it's not necessarily, you know, going and getting a mani-pedi or things like that, but it's really about how we're coming into and creating more opportunities for us to be in more of a right, and taking time for ourselves. So here we talked about, you know, really taking care of yourself, like the blood, I mean, the heart, I say this all the time, the heart pumps blood to itself first before it goes out to all of the organs. And how often we just get caught up in what's going on, and we can get hijacked by things or distracted and forget to take time for ourselves. And it's really the most important thing is, you know, how full is my bucket right now? Am I feeling depleted or am I feeling energized? And we also, you know, started to check in around this meeting in terms of the 4 different ways that we can check in, like checking in with our physical, like our physical self. How are we feeling energetically? Then how are we feeling mentally? You know, is our mind focused or is it scattered? And how are we feeling emotionally? Like, where is our emotional barometer right now? And also our level of stress. Because oftentimes when people ask, you know, how you're doing, we're like, okay, I'm fine. Well, that's like a huge swath of things, right? And when we're having a bad day, we can get caught up in just that one thing that happens. So how can we be kind to ourselves and really, really take care of ourselves? And really, like, how do we give ourselves the kindness that we would give a dear friend? And then our favorite, right? Staying with difficult feelings. This is, we could do a 6-week just on this, on staying with difficult feelings. And we talked about how challenging it can be, like the purple elephant, right? Exercise. So just taking a pause, you know, and asking you all, maybe because we're halfway through, right? Some of the material. If there's anything that you'd like to share with the group about things that might have stuck with you from the first few weeks, things that you've been using, aha moments that you might have had that have carried over. You can just put it in the chat box, or you can raise your hand. Okay. I'm not, we can just continue. Go ahead. I didn't know if somebody was going to talk. So the purple elephant is one of my favorite for sure. Like we can really see what we've created in our minds, right? And Emerson, you said you've used the virtual group hug. That's awesome. You know, it's really, really important to do the virtual group hug and feel connected in a, right now we can't have that touch and connection so easily. Boundaries. This is another 6-week session that we could do. You know, boundaries can be really challenging in terms of if we're not taking the time to check in with ourselves and, you know, what is feeling okay, what is not feeling okay, what does okay feel like, you know, did I just say yes when I really meant no? And then if we did say yes and we meant no, how do we go back and, you know, make a change? Because that also, you know, raises some discomfort. And we talked about what happens to us when our boundaries are unclear and fuzzy. You know, it can be really challenging, disrespected, sadness, panicked, anxiety, unsafe, scary, confused, alone. So it's really important for us to revisit this again and again. And one of the things is that boundaries can change. You know, as we change and people around us change, boundaries are always negotiable. And it's important to, again, spend time with yourself and know what's true and right for you. And it can be really difficult to speak your truth. And that's why we then went into, you know, giving you all a framework of how we discuss the hard things. So meaningful discussions and conversations, right? This again is, it can be challenging to us and it can be overwhelming. So we have to really feel like we're worth it. We're worth this conversation. Our peace of mind, you know, our minds matter and our hearts matter. And we'll get ourselves in challenging situations. And, you know, where the previous slide just talked about, you know, feeling disrespected and broken and anxious, you know, this is an area of growth, you know, for myself, certainly. But we shared with you the nonviolent communication framework. So when I see, hear, feel, I feel because I need and value, would you be willing to? So I just want to take a pause here because that's a lot. Just the boundaries and the conversation. And I'm curious just to know if any of you have implemented any of these tools in terms of communicating within your relationships, or if you've noticed a heightened awareness around boundaries and what your experience has been. So I'd be really curious to know. So again, you can raise your hand or type in the chat box if you've used any of these tools. It's hard to talk about, yeah. So reflections on the school year, right? On the school year. The past few weeks, we've discussed relationships, communication, boundaries, self-care, values, grounding, mindfulness. I'm curious to find out if there was a week or a couple of topics that really stood out to you. If you can just like, what was your favorite, or maybe where did you connect the most, or where did you learn the most? If you can maybe just type that in the group chat, or again, you can unmute yourself to just let us know what was helpful. Jordan's story. And the labors of love session. Last week's was really powerful for sure. Yeah.
Corinne, I had last week I had a breakthrough. It was, hearing Jordan speak was just incredible. And I was highly, highly emotional that entire week and had to fight back tears almost during that whole meeting. But the talk on boundaries helped me because I was at my parents' house and ended up leaving my parents' house to come home to my home to do the work of learning anti-racism. And so, yeah, this whole series has been phenomenal.
Thanks so much. Thanks so much. Yeah, so boundaries came in really handy in terms of having these difficult conversations. Yeah, it's not easy right now. And Erin mentioned the nonviolent communication tool, and Emerson has been using the I feel and I need to practice vulnerability. Yeah, that is it. This is what it's all about, right? Is being brave enough to be vulnerable and to say what we need and how we feel. Michaela, last week, hearing everyone speak was really powerful. And go ahead, Alyssa.
Sorry, is it Kyra with the hand up? I can't see the names on the screen, but I think.
Yes.
Oh, okay, sure.
Something else that I've been using in my other meetings or like Zoom calls is, I remember one time we did this hand thing where we asked like, how stressed are you on a level of 1 to 10, or how excited are you? So I use that to like help preface our conversations. It's just a way to like build connection between other people. So thank you for teaching me that.
You're so welcome, Haya. It's really handy. And it's a way that we can communicate with those around us too, that we can check in with family members and say, hey, because like I said, it's so easy for us to say, yeah, I'm okay, I'm fine. And, you could say, that's all I'm going to share, is that my stress level is a 5 out of 5, or, but that's helpful information for anyone around you. Thanks, Hira. And there was somebody else with their hand up, right?
I think Akshat had his name up.
Akshat? Go ahead, Akshat.
Yeah, so I have only attended one session, which was the one from last week, but the self-compassion line, which was like, I honor and support myself, that has been really helpful to me, and I have used it like at least 3 times this week.
Beautiful. Yeah. Again, that affirmation, I honor and support myself, really helps us to create boundaries, to affirm our worthiness, and makes it a little bit easier for us to speak up a little bit. But, this idea of compassion is critical for us in terms of our own growth, because if we are stuck in this mindset of like, I'm bad, I'm not worthy, that gets us into shame. And in shame, we can't make the changes that we want to make. So it's really important that we can really connect with our inherent goodness.
And so,
Awesome. Go ahead.
so I have some questions for all of you as a group. And one thing I'm just observing, and maybe this is not true, but everybody looks a little low energy today, which I feel it's extremely hot and my air conditioning doesn't work. So I don't know if that's anyone else's reality, but I was wondering just like kind of to take a second of like energizing before we even share more, because I think if we're feeling low energy, answering questions is not going to be very fun. So I was thinking we could play a quick little game, which would just require you to unmute your microphone if you're comfortable. But the game is to call, so everyone probably has at least 1 to 3 screens, 4 screens, maybe 6 screens surrounding their screen if they go into gallery view. So what we're going to do is you're going to pick one of the names of the people around you. And if they say your name back, then that pair wins. Okay. So like for example, if me and Laura Beth, I say Laura Beth and she says Alyssa, then we win as a pair. So we're going to see if anyone is next to each other approximately. Okay. So what I'll do is I'll count down from 5 to 0.
Sorry, we say anyone's name?
So anyone whose screen is touching yours. So like if you go to gallery view, you have
You have to allow us to go to gallery view.
Okay.
Yeah, because you're sharing the screen.
might have, if you go to more than one screen, then
Oh, but maybe not everyone has that.
can everyone go to gallery view now?
Yeah, that's better now.
Okay, so now look for at least somebody whose screen is touching your screen. Maybe you only have one person, maybe you have like 6 people, depending on where your camera is.
Looks
So
like some people might just be on their phone. Emerson said swipe to right for gallery view if you're on your phone.
okay.
Isn't it different though? Because on the phone it only shows 4 squares at a time, whereas on your computer it shows more.
Mm-hmm. But if we only have even one person touching you, then that's your name.
Okay.
So anyone whose name is near your name.
So like I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people touching my square. So,
Yeah.
Okay.
So you can pick any of those names, right? And the idea is if anyone has a match, perfect match, they win. If there's no perfect matches, that's okay. So maybe try to give yourself a second to strategically think and listen for your name. So
Take
maybe
yourself off mute. And maybe whoever wins, we could like send you guys the water bottle, new Our Minds Matter water bottle or something. Come on. We gotta add a prize to this.
And some high stakes. Okay. All
Do
right.
diagonals count?
Yep.
Ooh,
Anyone in your
question.
square, your diagonal, be creative. Again, I know that it's random and everyone's Zoom, so that's the one thing I do know. Okay, so I'll count down 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then everyone say a name. Okay. Ready? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Anastasia.
Megan.
Catherine.
Dan Martian.
I couldn't hear anything.
So I didn't hear anything. I didn't hear my name, but I didn't hear a lot of things. So maybe type the name of your person in the chat and we'll see if anyone did it.
Okay, are we gonna do a countdown?
Someone's cheating.
Oh wow, Megan's name got called a lot. Who did Megan call? Megan called Jen.
No, that's me. Well,
Did anybody match? I don't know if
Any matches?
through the chat, see if any 2 people said the same person.
All right, Allison said Catherine. Megan Church said Jen. Puashi said Anastasia. Aaron, Catherine, Jada, Catherine, Alyssa, Anastasia, Michaela, Catherine, Lauren, Megan.
Akshat said, Catherine.
I think everyone just look for your name, what you put down, and if that person put you down. I don't think anyone got it.
I don't think so. But what's interesting is that there were only a few names said, so I don't know what was happening with the screen, or if everyone's screen is next to Catherine's or Jen. So
yeah, Catherine got mentioned like 7 times.
Just an honor.
So just a little chance for us to recenter for a second, right? Remember, we can always take a break. This is important in the electronic world. I feel like one thing that I've noticed is that nobody ever stops in meetings to like take a bathroom break or see if anyone needs a drink of water or asks if everyone's okay when everyone looks tired. So it's something I've been trying to be more mindful of. And I know not everyone has their camera on, but those of you who do look a little sleepy. So, and I understand that, or it's a hot afternoon. I don't know, maybe not where everyone is, but at least where I am. So with that kind of side note, what I'm curious about is, so y'all are not just, members of this club, but you've also been in school, right? Like, I don't know what you would call what you've been doing in the past couple of months, but what I'm curious about is how's it been going to school online, and how has Our Minds Matter made that easier, more difficult? Like, has it changed your experience in school, or is it just something completely separate? So you can share a reflection about how school's been easy, hard, fun, not fun, or how, Our Minds Matter has been helpful in the transition online or not. So really open-ended, but we just want to hear, what do you guys think? How do you feel? Go ahead, Kyra.
I think for me, at first, I was super upset that, like, this was very unprecedented to me. Like, I've never experienced this feeling, like being away from like friends and family and all of that. And everything came down so fast. But I think now that I'm looking back and reflecting on my school year, on my junior year, I feel very grateful this happened, because if it weren't for that, we would have never had Wellness Wednesdays, and I would have never learned these techniques or, met Corinne or Alyssa. So I guess at the end of the day, there were some positivities out of this, but I would say that I really do miss seeing my teachers and friends, and like, just a junior year, whatever happens during junior year. Like, I guess it's something that I'll never forget. So I'm super grateful that everything played into how it was supposed to be. And I'm also a firm believer that after hardship comes ease. So I guess after like the uncertainty, I think if it weren't for Our Minds Matter, I don't know where I'd be right now. So I guess they were that ease that came and helped me out.
Thank you so much for sharing. I really appreciate hearing your perspective. And seeing, how you've been able to reframe. That's what we call, what you kind of just said, is to change your thoughts or thinking about something that was originally really difficult. So thank you for sharing. Anastasia, did you want to add?
I personally have stopped paying attention to my online school for the past few weeks because, I don't know, I feel like a lot of the students here can probably relate to that, just because it's so hard, at least for me personally, to focus on school when it's online, because it's just like a person giving a lecture for 45 minutes. And I think that this is one of the online things that I've been doing during quarantine that I've actually been paying attention to, and that's online, because I feel like this is a lot more engaging. And I don't know, I feel like, because in school we don't really get a chance to talk to our classmates, whereas here we actually get a chance to communicate with one another. And I feel like it's all the stuff that we talk about here is a lot more relevant to our life, whereas the stuff going on in school, it doesn't seem as, I don't know, it's just weird because it's online, obviously only twice a week. So yeah, I think this has been really beneficial though, and I hope that we continue this throughout the summer too. So yeah.
Thanks for sharing, Anastasia. It sounds like, if I'm hearing you correctly, that what's been nice about this platform is the opportunity to talk to your peers a little bit more, or actually get to know or at least connect. So that's good for us to hear. And Akshnash, I'm not sure if I pronounced your name right. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah. So, like, as Kyra, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm mostly wrong. So, she said, like, that she was earlier frustrated and then she got, like, then ease came, but it was, like, totally opposite for me. I was, like, ease came first for me. Like, I was, like, pretty excited at the idea of an online school. But then slowly frustration came and I don't like it right now. And, like, for the past few classes, I don't really like them. And yeah, and I'm not being paying attention, as the speaker before me said. I remember.
Yeah, and I think that makes sense too, right? So for some of us, at first, it's really nice to transition into, oh, this online space. It seems like it's going to be really fun, and then it turns out not what I was expecting. And then the hardship comes hard like later, and it can become even more difficult when we're not sure where to take those emotions, or when our friends are experiencing it in different order. So it can be, we're all experiencing it in different ways. So thank you for sharing. Jada, did you want to add?
I really enjoyed OMM because like seeing you guys face to face has been just really helpful. I've never like met any of you in real life, like a few of you, but most of you not. But like I feel like I know you because I'm like seeing your face. Whereas at school, you don't see anyone. Sometimes the teacher you don't even see, and it's like you're talking to a wall, in my opinion. So that's kind of my take.
Yeah, so the opportunity to really like get to actually see each other and build some connection. That's good. Akshat?
So like online school, like at the beginning was like nice, and I thought that it would be more interesting because we are like at the comfort of our own like house, and it will be fun. But one of the main things that is making it hard is friends. Like I'm just more comfortable in school because I have my friends around, and we can like talk and meet whenever we want. And it's not really the school, but friends that I am missing.
Mm-hmm. So getting that connection with your friends, absolutely. Did anyone else want to share any reflections that they're having? Yeah, go ahead. I saw a hand go up.
For me, one of my teachers has asked us every class, how are we doing? He goes to each student in attendance and asks, how are we doing? Anything that we've bought during quarantine, just random questions. And that's something that I looked forward to for each of his classes. But then the rest of my teachers, it was more like Anastasia said, lecture type just for 45 minutes. And so that one teacher, like this Our Minds Matter session, since it focuses on the student more, is something that I appreciate.
Thank you for sharing. Anybody have anything to add or like comment back to what anyone else said or agreements?
I would just like to say I've enjoyed spending more time with you guys than I would have if we would have resumed as normal. So it's been really nice to see you guys on a more frequent basis, because you as students are the reason why we wake up and do this work every day. So I just wanted to add that.
Thanks, Marva. So I have some specific little questions for you guys, which are more like thinking towards the future, right? So we've done kind of some reflecting, but now it's sort of thinking towards, okay, if we were to continue this, if that's something y'all are interested in, what do you want from us? Is it something we've been kind of creating this as we go, right? As all of your teachers have just been shifting to online curriculum. And we want to know, like, what is it that you all need, and how could we be a place to support and provide that for you? As well as, you know, like, what setting, you know, do you want to hear more from each other? Do you want to hear less from us? You know, Jada, do you want to start?
Yeah, I really liked the Wellness Wednesdays, but also I feel like we could even use something that's less formal and more like of getting to know each other, like stuff about each other, or just like a conversation kind of. Because it's just like, this doesn't feel like school, but it also feels more like learning based, I guess, which is like not a bad thing, but also I feel like we need like some more of like I don't know, just like some more social part to it.
More connection is what you're saying, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Anastasia, did you want to add to that?
Yeah, mine was actually kind of like the opposite of Jada's. I mean, obviously I want to talk to the people who are on here, but I really enjoyed the educational part of it. And I really liked it when we had the different guest speakers talk about different topics, because I kind of like learning as much as I can about mental health, because then I feel like I can improve my own mental health and also share all of that stuff on This Is My Brave Teens too. And so, yeah, I really like the guest speakers that came in. And I think that moving forward, if we were to have the Wednesday wellnesses throughout the summer, we should definitely have some more guest speakers to listen to.
Hearing your comment, Anastasia and Jada, reminds me of what I think Yorktown did as a club. Is they didn't, you know, want every meeting to be educational focused, and so then they decided that one meeting a month was going to be like education learning based, and then the other session was going to be about like coping, connection, relaxing. So just interesting to like hear that. Like, I think that's common across what you guys need virtually, but also like when you're in school as well.
I agree with Anastasia. I mean, I like the guest speakers a lot. And I liked the presentations. I just feel like we also need a little bit more of a balance maybe, so we can kind of do both instead of like either or.
Yeah, and I absolutely agree with both of you, Jada. I like that point too, because I think we're really, you know, the point of this organization is to get people connected and feeling supported. And some of the things that make us feel supported is knowledge and resources. And some of the things that make us feel supported are, you know, just connection. So I think it's just, we want to make sure that everyone's heard there. And I know, Michaela, you had your hand up. Did you want to add something that you'd like to see?
Yeah, some of like the most powerful parts of the meeting for me have been sort of like the discussions about specific topics, like the discussion that we had last week around sort of current events. And then there was an office hours around the Pride Month campaign that Emerson led that was sort of structured a lot about like including the LGBT community in Our Minds Matter. And I felt that those discussions were both really eye-opening for me, and I enjoyed both of them.
Go ahead. I see your hand up, Kara.
I think for me, I really enjoyed the stories. For me, the only way I can connect with somebody or actually learn something is like when somebody connects it to their life and like their personal anecdotes. Some of them were really moving. The one that really stood out was Jordan's story. So more stories like that.
Did anyone else want to share? Just something I'm noticing, and I just saw in the chat, was, you know, from Akshat, of sharing, you know, how comfortable being around people that you don't know and meeting for the first time. And I feel like that's something that's been unique about this setting that I've really enjoyed. You know, like me and Corinne, we just met at the beginning of this. We didn't even know each other at all. And we've never met in person, and we've been working together on this project, on this team. And something, you know, as you all are talking, and especially kind of from some of the stuff that, you know, Jada's saying, and Anastasia, and even Akshat's, actually your comment inspired me a little of, I'm wondering, and this is, you know, I'm a little disconnected from social media. I'm not a big fan of it, but I'm wondering, you guys are a little bit better at the digital social sphere of, are there other ways that there can be connections fostered within this, virtual community that we have, because we have, our space for the Wellness Wednesdays, but I don't know, and maybe Lauren, Laura Beth, or anyone has any ideas about ways that our Wellness Wednesday crew can kind of stay connected and even out, through the quarantine, through the summer, or even as we move forward, but I'm not savvy in that way. So maybe someone has ideas. We'll sit on it and brainstorm it later. But I figure if anyone has any thoughts, yeah, Laura Beth.
I was just gonna add, and feel free to take some time to think about that comment as well. We're going to be sending out a form that we really want your honest feedback about. It actually has a drop down of all the past meetings for you to check which ones you learned from the most or enjoyed the most, but also free form responses where any other ideas you had. I saw maybe sharing one insecurity or struggle, different things like that for getting more comfortable and getting to know each other. If there's anything even as specific as that you want to add, or you think that a group chat of some sort with the Wellness Wednesday crew would be something you're interested in, feel free to write that into the form if you're not thinking of any ideas right now.
Oh, go ahead. I see Ms. Khan. Your hands up.
I think the sessions have been really great, but one suggestion is that you could sort of give us some real life situations and ask us how we'd react to them, because that would not only prepare us for the real life situations, but also help us prepare for situations we generally panic in. So for example, if one of my friends tells me that she has depression, so I wouldn't know, because I would know that she needs a therapist, but where I live now, having a therapist isn't really considered positive, and you're judged based on that. And plus, over here, when you tell people that look, you need help, they think that they are crazy and they need to go to an asylum or something. So you could help us prepare on how to persuade people to get help and that it's nothing bad. That's just one suggestion.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for sharing. So if there are any other kind of closing thoughts or reflections that you want to share here right now, otherwise we'll kind of save it for the survey. I am going to hand it off to Corinne to just do our closing for the day otherwise.
Thanks, Alyssa. So these mindfulness practices that we have learned together, gratitude and self-compassion, the worthiness, the I am worth it, and then we used sound as an anchor. So hopefully the gratitude, and also we also did, makes me think of the three things that we did well today, right? So that hopefully we're incorporating these positive practices into our lives so that we can really focus ourselves and shift our mindset so that we don't get stuck. Yesterday when I was facilitating I really appreciated all the feedback in terms of the casual conversation and how important that is. In the teen circle I led yesterday, there was a question around, what do I do around anxiety? So there's another practice that's just really simple that you can do in the moment. So if you take your one hand and put it on your forehead and then another hand on the back of your neck and take a few deep breaths, sort of like breathing in and then breathing out. And just two more. It can again just engage your relaxation response. So that's another grounding sort of on the spot. I felt like, you know, you can give yourself a little neck massage while you're there. So we'll just close out with mindfulness moment. So I want to keep us on time. That helped to ground us. So notice your feet on the floor or wherever you're sitting. Notice where your hands are resting. Maybe it's helpful to place a hand on the heart or a hand on your belly. You can gaze down or your eyes can be closed. And again, this just sense of taking in where you are in the room. So noticing the sounds around you, maybe noticing the touch of air on your skin, or where your body is connecting with the chair or your seat. And saying to yourself, I honor and support myself. I honor and support myself. I honor and support myself. And then allowing one thing that you're grateful for in this moment and why. Just letting that rise up. And then as you're ready, gently opening your eyes. It's been really such an honor and a joy to be with all of you and, you know, getting to know you in a different way. Okay, so Laura Beth, do you want to, or Catherine?
I'll go.
Who wants to close the meeting?
Yeah, so we have a few announcements. We will be sending a recap email to include our virtual feedback forms. So that's the survey that we were referencing to. So please take some time this weekend, even today, to fill that out. We'll be closing it on Sunday. Also, we are still in the midst of our Pride campaign, and next Monday we'll be holding the Gender Euphoria activity. You can go to the next slide. Alyssa, could you go to the next slide, please? Thank you. So if Emerson is still here. Emerson, are you here?
Still here.
Okay, would you like to introduce the Gender Euphoria activity, because they will be leading it next Monday?
All right, so hey everybody. I did an LGBTQ plus discussion last month, and in that I also talked a little bit about this activity that I helped create, which primarily focuses on the importance of supporting our trans community members in some different ways, but mostly focused on getting the conversation started about what pronouns mean to somebody and what their gender means to somebody, and then some advocacy and activism steps that we can all figure out their place in our lives. So I have a couple different examples, a couple different topics, and I would love if everybody in this video call would come, and if you can't make it from 3 to 4 p.m., sharing it so that some other people can come and check it out.
Awesome. Thank you, Emerson. We're really stoked about it, and Emerson has put a lot of work into developing content and curriculum for our Pride campaign. And as always, even though this is our last Wellness Wednesday, we are here for you and we have resources for you. So please reach out, and if you have any other ideas that maybe come up after you filled out the survey, feel free to just shoot us an email, and we'd love to hear your input.
Can I just mention another nonprofit that I work with, Inward Bound Mindfulness Education? We're having summer courses all summer on a whole bunch of different topics. Some of it is race, some of it is climate change, some of it is like grief and loss, some of it is heart practices. Some of the classes are just for 15 to 25-year-olds, some are 15 to 19, and then some are all ages. So just, and it's sliding scale. So just check it out on the website. A lot of talented teachers, and then another way to create community. And it's a lot more interactive. When I say a lot more, you know, there is a lot of community that's built during the classes, because that's important. So
thank you, Corinne.
Thanks, Catherine.
Do you want to close out with the dance party? Bye, everyone. Thank you for attending and making the past 13 weeks really incredible. I'm looking forward to summer sessions.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Aww.
Who's that?
That's Corinne.
Who's that?
Everyone's gone now.
Hi. Who's that? What's that noise in the back? Charlie?
Oh yeah, it was Charlie
Who's
playing
that?
with his. That's Catherine. Alrighty, well, Alyssa, we'll talk to you at 4:15.
Mom?
See you guys soon.
Thanks, guys. Thanks, Alyssa, Corinne, Catherine.
Thank you.
Making it happen.